A couple of days ago, the Vietnamese government held an auction. Nothing unusual about that. Governments sell off seized assets all the time. Cars, property, machinery, things that used to belong to someone who won't be needing them anymore. But this one had two items worth paying attention to. Two handbags. One went for around $440,000 and other for roughly $95,000. Together, over $500,000 for two bags. They belong to Trong My Lan, one of Vietnam's most powerful real estate developers. Or was, because a few years ago, the full scale of what she'd been doing came out and it was staggering. Prosecutors said she'd secretly taken control of Saigon Commercial Bank and used it as a personal piggy bank. $27 billion siphoned out over years, roughly 90% of the bank's total loan book. The money went into her property empire, Shell Company's associates. The bank was hollowed out. Thousands of ordinary depositors found their savings locked. There were public protests, which in Vietnam is saying something. The government had to step in to stop a wider panic. She was convicted and sentenced to death, later commuted to life imprisonment after Vietnam changed its laws around capital punishment for economic crimes. Now, the government is working through everything she owned to claw back what it can. The Maybach, the BMW, the Lexus, and the handbags. Both Hermès Birkin models sold at a state auction, no involvement from the brand whatsoever. $500,000 gone in a room. This is Built to Brand, a show about why things work, not what went viral, the architecture underneath, the decisions you don't notice until you step back. Today, we're looking at Hermès. Specifically, how do you build something so deeply valued that it holds and appreciates inside a fraud case at a government auction without you doing a single thing? Most people assume Birkins are expensive because they're well made, and they are. The craft is real, the ateliers in France are real, but that's not why one just sold for $440,000 in Hanoi. Plenty of things are well made. The Birkin is doing something else entirely. It's not priced high, it's made unavailable. Walk into an Hermès store and ask to buy a Birkin. They'll tell you they don't have one. Not the way a shop runs out of stock, more that you haven't earned access yet. You typically need a purchase history with the brand, scarves, shoes, smaller leather goods, a relationship with a sales associate built over time. And even then, you might be offered a bag rather than given a choice. The color, the leather, the size, a lot of that isn't up to you. Hermès has never officially explained how the system works, which is also part of the design. This wasn't invented to generate mystique. Demand genuinely outstripped supply, and they had to figure out how to allocate a limited product without a free-for-all that destroys the thing people want. Each bag is made by one artisan, start to finish. That's slow by design. But they chose not to scale. They could have trained more craftspeople, built more ateliers, moved toward meeting demand at any point in the last 40 years. They didn't. That choice is the product. Why does unavailability make something more desirable rather than just frustrating? There is a concept called reactance. When access gets blocked, desire intensifies. It's basic human wiring. The more unreachable something is, the more significance we attach to it. Most luxury brands use this badly. Limited drops, manufactured hype, sellouts, repeat. It works for a while, but it trains people to wait rather than want. The desire has somewhere to go, so it dissipates. Hermès does something different. The scarcity isn't an event, it's a permanent condition. No drop date, no queue, no app. The path to access is personal, relational, and opaque. So the desire never resolves, it just compounds. And because money alone doesn't get you in, Birkins attract people who already have money, people for whom spending more isn't the problem. The obstacle is proving standing to a brand that isn't interested in making it easy. The brand isn't chasing aspiration upward, it's turning away people who expect access. Then there's the investment angle. Birkins, especially the rarer leathers, the Himalaya models with the pale gradient finish, have outperformed the S&P 500 over the past 30 years by some analysis. Outperformed gold. They hold value in a way almost no consumer product does. So owning one isn't just a status move. For a certain buyer, it's a rational financial decision. They get kept, stored, passed on. They don't get used up. They appreciate. Hermès didn't engineer that directly. They made something carefully, kept it rare, and the market did the rest. Everyone understands the mechanism. It's not a secret. It gets studied, written about, pulled apart in business schools, and yet no one has pulled it off at the same level, not even close. Because copying the mechanism is easy. What you can't copy is what gives it credibility. Hermès was founded in 1837. They spent over a century making saddles and harnesses for European royalty before they ever made a handbag. The Birkin didn't exist until 1984, nearly 150 years in. By then, the brand had accumulated so much genuine craft heritage, so much history that predates the very idea of brand strategy, that the scarcity reads as a natural consequence of how they work, not a tactic. If a new brand tried this tomorrow, beautiful bag, relationship-based access, limited supply, it would just read as arrogant, a gimmick. Without the history, the scarcity is the whole game, and people can smell that. With Hermès, it feels almost incidental, a byproduct of a real commitment to craft that's been there since before any of us were born. They weren't thinking about brand positioning in 1900. They were making horse harnesses. You can copy the mechanics. You can't buy the time. So back to that auction. 2 bags taken from a convicted fraudster, sold by a government, $500,000. Hermès wasn't in the room. No statement, no authentication, nothing. And the value held. The brand is so embedded in the object that it survives whatever the owner did. It doesn't matter what Trong Milan was convicted of. The bag is still a Birkin. The auction house called it that. The buyer paid for it. A Birkin is more durable than the reputation of anyone who owns one. That's not marketing. That's architecture. Most brands try to make you want something and then sell it to you. That's the loop. Hermès broke it. They made something desirable, made it hard to reach, and made the difficulty part of what they were selling. The friction isn't a flaw. It's the point. And the Vietnam auction shows you where that ends up if you hold the line long enough. An object that doesn't need its owner, doesn't need its brand, doesn't even need a store. It just needs to exist. That's Built to Brand. I'm Tanvi, and we'll be back in a fortnight. If this one got you thinking, send it to someone who'd get it. And if there's a brand or moment you think deserves this treatment, you know where to find me.